And then thanks everybody for joining the Read Cohort. I just want to say I do apologize for people who may have received like multiple invites. You know, I guess I heard one person received up to 5 repetitive invites. I don't know what happened. I'm blaming it all on computers and Teams. I do very much apologize. I was on the other side receiving 4 and 5 versions of your acceptances and denials. So I don't know what happened, except putting in 1,600 people into Teams seems to make it hiccup. All right, I'll let Melissa take over.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I would like to welcome Laura Bullock today for our presentation. Thank you so much for taking the opportunity to join us. And we are super excited to learn more about sustainable, your history with sustainable operation and the GreeningFire teams, and how it relates to what's going on in our world right now. So Laura, I'm really excited. Is Kelly joining us today? It looks like we have.
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Kelly, just a little bit about her. She served in Forest Service Region 3 in their Sustainable Operations Program. She was the lead for 4 years. And Laura has served as Region 5 in the Sustainable Operation and Co-Climate Change Coordinator since 2011. So thank you so much for joining us today and sharing the latest and greatest. The floor is now yours.
Very good. Thank you very much, Melissa, Lynn, and formerly Lisa Hansen, for assisting us with getting on today's agenda. I just want to make sure that the screen share is coming through okay for you all. Can you see that okay?
I can, and we could see, yeah, so the PowerPoint isn't completely on the screen, but we see like yours. Yeah, I guess we see your screen.
Okay, very good.
You're not in presentation mode. You're just in.
Okay.
Thank you, Lynn. That's what I tried to say.
Okay, you know, when I go into presentation mode, it takes over my whole screen and I'm not able to navigate back and forth to the chat. So can folks see, is this large enough that you can see this okay? Because if so, it may be preferred.
I'll give you a couple tricks. If you're going to do it this way, over in your upper right, there's that little up arrow below where it says comments. Go down a little bit. Right, keep going right there. That'll get rid of that ribbon.
Lovely.
And then individuals, you can zoom in if you use control and then your cursor. You actually can individually zoom into your team's screen and it won't affect how other people see it.
Okay, perfect. And certainly when I hand the baton to Kelly, I can go full screen, but I just find in Teams that in order for me to be able to track the various chats, etc., it's helpful to not go full screen. So hopefully this will work for you all. Again, thank you very much to Lisa, Lynn, Melissa, others for including the GreeningFire program as part of today's National Read Cohort call. I believe this is the 3rd time the National GreeningFire team has had the opportunity to join you, and we really appreciate the free season slot. I'm Laura Bullock. I'm the Region 5 Sustainable Operations and Co-Climate Change Coordinator and the GreeningFire team co-chair along with Kelly Jaramillo, who will be presenting the second half of today's presentation. So we want to give you a bit of background in terms of who we are for those that may not have heard from us before. You know, the mission of the GreeningFire team is to integrate sustainability best management practices on incidents and within the fire community. And our vision is to achieve net zero environmental impact for all large fire incidents by 2030. Our focus areas have remained stable over the years, and they largely map to those that form the foundation of the Sustainable Operations Program in the Forest Service. But then if you think one level higher, these are the same footprint areas that are consistently tracked across, say, the Department of Agriculture, the Office of Management and Budget, the Council of Environmental Quality. In terms of history, our team has actually been around for perhaps longer than some may realize. We were established in 2010 So we like to think that we're kind of moving into our adolescent years now. In 2019, we saw a bit of a shift in terms of institutionalizing our team into the Forest Service and by extension interagency wildland fire community when we became chartered under Washington Office Fire and Aviation Management at the time under Director Shauna Lagarza. So I want to go over some of the big why for you, again, kind of grounding you in this topic. So the work of the National Greening Fire team directly aligns with recent Biden administration executive orders mandating a shift towards net zero emissions and a carbon pollution-free electricity sector. The team's work also supports objectives of the USDA's Climate 21 project, and specifically the on-site incident recycling blanket purchase agreement, which is one of our team's keystone deliverables, one that you may have heard about in previous presentations and other forums, really helps to achieve the EPA administrator's recently updated national recycling goal, increasing the US recycling rate to 50% by 2030. So recent executive orders also demand that the federal government increase its efforts to reduce its impact on climate change while advancing sustainable operations. And here you can see some examples from the Forest Service on the left and the Department of Interior on the right that reflect agency-level prioritization of sustainability and climate change. These are only two examples, but many exist across the interagency space and demonstrate our shared responsibility for sustainable operations. Now, at first glance, one may think that an act like throwing cardboard into a dumpster rather than recycling does not have any direct impact on a forest per se. But as we think through this presentation, it's important to consider the indirect effects of our actions as well. So think about it this way. When solid waste goes to landfill and becomes methane through the process of anaerobic digestion, it contributes to climate change. And climate change is leading to increased frequency and severity of wildfires, increasing these formerly once in a century fire events that we're now experiencing more frequently. More incidents, more waste, more landfill emissions, the positive feedback loop. But our actions and attention to the USDA Forest Service priority of tackling climate change, you can see here one of the agency's top 5 national priorities, can reverse this cycle. Now, in 2019, the Forest Service deputy chiefs of the National Forest System and State and Private Forestry co-signed a leadership intent letter related to sustainability on incidents. A refreshed leadership intent memo for 2021 was just released on April 7th of this year, and it's available at the link on the slide. The letter opens with an emphasis on the importance of integrating sustainability considerations in our fire operations, and it also asks our incident management teams to leverage the incident recycling blanket purchase agreement on type 1 and 2 fires to reduce waste where feasible. We highly encourage you to take a look at this letter when you have a chance. That link takes you to our public-facing website, so it's an external link. There we go. So also, some may not realize that within Chapter 11, within the Incident Management and Environmental Sustainability subsection, the Red Book specifically calls all of us to reduce unnecessary waste through such things as recycling and alternative energy sources. And recently, just in the past few weeks, a reference to the National Greening Fire team was added as well. You can see that reference here as well as the direct link. So let's think a little bit in terms of what potential recycling has to reduce trash hauling costs. By diverting recyclables out of the waste stream, we can save between 50 and 80% in trash hauling costs on incidents, which could mean a savings of anywhere up to $18,000 per week. So again, thinking through the business case as well. And when we reviewed the trash estimates from our Forest Service offices and compared it to the trash estimates from incidents in 2017, We were surprised to find that almost half of the trash in at least the Forest Service Southwest region, or Region 3, I'm sorry, that didn't advance. There we go. I'm sorry about that. The slides were reversed. Came from incidents. And so bottom line is, the only way that we're going to reduce our trash impacts as an agency, or much expand that to our partner networks, is to really think about the trash that derives from incidents, because just to focus on our administrative office spaces will not get us to that big picture.
Yeah. Oh, I got that from the thing.
So who are we? Well, you've learned a little bit about why we do what we do, but let's learn a little bit more about our distribution. So since last year, our GreeningFire team network has grown tremendously. We have 99 contacts now across every one of our geographic areas that have signed up in some way to be part of the GreeningFire team program. And as you can see on this slide, our GreeningFire team network is heavily dominated by Forest Service, but we're growing representation across the interagency with ambassadors from CAL FIRE, BLM, BIA, Fish and Wildlife Service, NPS, state agencies, and other partners. And we would very much like you to join us if you're not part of our network already. Hopefully you recognize some of the names on this slide. These are a few of the GreeningFire team members and ambassadors that help us green fire. A couple of them I know are on the line today. So the bottom line is, we are no longer just the USDA Forest Service GreeningFire team. We are very much your GreeningFire team. I apologize, folks, as I get pop-ups, I'm not able to advance. So a little bit about what we do. Let's start with our highlights. The GreeningFire team has rapidly institutionalized its program of work over the past 3 years with a focus on deliverables related to sustainability leadership, advancing accountability, and reducing waste and improving recycling. We operate based on a 5-year strategic and communication plan with a small budget out of Washington Office Fire and Aviation Management. In response to some feedback from our logistics community this year, our team worked with the General Services Administration, or GSA, to build a market research tool. And you can see a quick screenshot of that survey tool here. Folks wanted to know, what alternatives are there to common products that are used on incidents? What geographic areas can access products from these particular green vendors? How much do they cost? What are the product tech specs? So we were able to receive that information in a compiled form from 30 different companies operating across the United States. And bottom line is that responses indicate that there's a number of vendors that are prepared to provide clean light towers, portable solar, other forms of clean power, energy efficient tents, etc., across all geographic areas. We're also trying to keep track of the green products that our firefighters can use in the field on small fires or with our wildland fire modules. On the bottom left, you can see an example from the Canisius Wildland Fire Module using solar power panels to charge their communications equipment in the field. And there's no need for fuel and there's no noise. On the right, you can see them using a solar water filtration system to purify water that they are storing in 5-gallon military-grade reusable water containers that are BPA-free, puncture-proof, and eliminate the need to throw away single-use plastic bottles. Also, we've been doing some work looking at electrolytes. It's a hot topic, as many of you can appreciate, and we were asked to research essentially alternatives for single-use bottled sports drinks. We researched the NWCG Supplemental Food and Drink Guidance, and we were surprised to find the Gatorade and Powerade do not actually satisfy the current sodium requirement, while options like the Noon tablets do not satisfy the carbohydrate requirement. So we're waiting on additional input. However, if the Noon tablets are allowed, they could reduce waste from single-use bottled sports drinks by more than 99%. So there's an interesting stat to sit with. A little bit of host to habitat. This is another partnership that has emerged over the past couple of years. We've really made significant strides lately in terms of promoting awareness among our champion network, but also developing a standard operating procedure to streamline hose disposition. And the last tool we want to share with you, which may be particularly relevant right now as units are working to update their delegation of authority templates, is that one of our GreeningFire team ambassadors, who also happens to be our READ himself, Jason Collier, helped us develop a delegation of authority template that integrates sustainability best management practices. You can see a snapshot of that here. The template shown on this slide is referenced in the enclosure to the 2021 Sustainable Operations and Incident Management Leaders Intent Letter. So you can access it in its entirety and edit as you see fit. And with that, I'm going to hand the baton to Kelly to take us through the end of the presentation. And Kelly, I'll go full screen for you.
Thanks, Laura. Appreciate it. All right. Hello, everybody. I'm Kelly Jaramillo. I work in Albuquerque, New Mexico for the Forest Service in Region 3. And I also serve as co-chair with Laura for the National GreeningFire team. And I am going to share with you a little bit more information about our incident recycling blanket purchase agreement, and I'll also round out the presentation with some opportunities for you to possibly get involved. So next slide. What services does the BPA provide? Well, here you can see that the BPA for incident recycling provides much more than just a cardboard recycling dumpster. When the BPA vendors are ordered, they provide trash and recycle stations throughout the camp, and they service those recycle stations to make sure that none of them overflow. The vendors required to transport all of those recyclables to the closest recycle outlet, and they have to document all of their waste diversion data. Next. So as you likely know, we launched a multi-geographic area coordination center, GAC, blanket purchase agreement, BPA, for our incident management teams to easily order on-site incident recycling services as part of a pilot effort. This year will be our third year of the 3-year BPA, and it is available in the Northwest, the Southwest, and North and South Ops. Last year in 2020, we saw a 50% increase in the number of orders for incident recycling using the BPA, and we're expecting a significant increase in the number of orders for recycling this year as well. Next slide. So for those GACs that are outside of the footprint that I just showed you on the last slide, you can still order incident recycling. You just can't order it on the BPA. You'll need to order it using an EERA. And we have provided some tools and resources for you to do that. It's on our public website. If you Google GreeningFire, you'll find our website. Click on incident recycling. That's where you'll find the resources. We have a sample scope of work for ordering incident recycling using EERA, as well as a list of vendors that are willing to provide on-site recycling services across the country. Next. This past fall, we talked to a Type 1 facilities unit leader from the Northern Rockies, and he shared with us that he'd been on the Woodward Fire in California earlier in the year. The dumpster service could not keep up with the trash last year. A lot of you probably saw that. Due to COVID mitigation measures, the trash doubled last year. He didn't know that he could have ordered recycling in California, unfortunately. Later on, when he was on the Slater Devil Fire in Washington and Oregon, incident recycling had already been ordered when he arrived. The Slater Fire had twice as many people, but the same number of dumpsters. And this time, the dumpsters only needed to be emptied one time a week. The team achieved a 43% waste diversion rate and diverted 37,000 pounds of materials and 3,600 pounds of non-perishable food. The facilities unit leader let us know that he felt like the recycling vendor made trash much less of a nightmare for him, but he was also super proud that his team was able to divert so much from the community landfill and also provide so much food. Next slide. All right, let's talk some more about how you can engage with us. Next slide. This past year, we put a lot of effort into revamping our GreeningFire team website. So as I mentioned earlier, if you Google GreeningFire, you should be the first site that pops up. And I encourage you to take a look at it and give us some feedback. We do try to keep it up to date, and we also deal with various format updates and changes. So if you have some suggestions on ways we can make it easier to read or content that you'd like to see, let us know. We definitely want to improve it. You can see on this slide also in the center, there's a quick 2-page reference that we developed this past year that explains everything you need to know about incident recycling. And on the far right, you can see an example of a poster that we developed that you're welcome to download and use if you'd like to help us promote the GreeningFire program. Next. Here you can see an example of our GreeningFire team bulletin, where we put together spotlights on some of our GreeningFire ambassadors. We do Mythbusters on recycling and other topics, and we also provide updates, tools, and resources in this quarterly bulletin. Next slide. So what can you do to help GreeningFire? Well, even if you're not involved with logistics or a subject matter expert in sustainability, there's lots of simple things that people can do on an incident to help reduce our footprint. So the national shower caterers and potable water tenders are required to provide potable water that's lab tested on the incident. You can use reusable water bottles to provide, instead of single-use plastic bottles of water. You can also consider using the electrolyte powder options instead of the single-use bottles of sports drinks. Some of our GreeningFire team ambassadors have been using rechargeable radio accessories with car chargers, multi-bay battery chargers, and they've shared with us that they actually really appreciate not having to purchase, carry, or throw away the AA batteries. On the larger fires, you can help get the word out about incident recycling, that it could be ordered on the BPA or using an EERA if people on that fire don't know that it's available. There's a number of other ideas on this slide as well. Next. So as a READ, you can advise on sustainable operations, best practices on incidents. We work very hard to develop tools and resources to help you, help us. You can help us integrate GreeningFire into local trainings or refreshers, like Lynn, Melissa, thank you so much for including us this year. You can lead by example on an incident. Next. So if you're interested in learning more about our GreeningFire program or helping us to further our team's mission and vision, please reach out to us. Check out our ambassador program on our website. Our ambassadors get involved at the level of interest that they have and their available time. We have some ambassadors that have risen to team member status, and they help us on a regular basis with our deliverables. Others only sign up so that they can receive an update once a year. That's our Ambassador Basic program. So you can get involved in whatever capacity suits you. Next. So with that, I will go ahead and wrap up our presentation. Let you know again, you can Google GreeningFire, go to our public website. You can reach out to us at the shared inbox address that's on the screen. And I'll wrap it up by saying, how can READs integrate sustainable operations into their sphere of influence or scope of duties while assigned on an incident? Thanks. The link to the 2-page recycling paper in the chat. You bet, Kate. Oh, did James just post that link? Boy, James, way to go. Thanks for helping us out. We've got a future GreeningFire ambassador out there that's helping us out. Thanks, James. Appreciate it. Do any of you have any questions or ideas? We'd really appreciate your input. We're definitely trying to reach out to the READ community and better understand how we can integrate GreeningFire. Okay. Question from Marissa. Do other people on fire teams order green, or is it just up to the READs? So like Laura mentioned earlier in the presentation, what we've tried to do is the market research. Just figure out, are there even green companies out there? What are the green products and services? Like she said, how much do they cost? What GACs are they available in? So we started the process of creating that source list. And we're now trying to work through the procurement community to make that source list available to buying teams. and logistics community as well. So that's perhaps a dance around your answer, but really in the future, we're hoping that incident management teams can order green on any fire ultimately, but we just need to make the list of green products and services and companies available so people know who to order from. Does that answer your question, Melissa?
Absolutely.
Kelly, this is Lynn, and maybe I can answer that as a long-running lead read. It's preferable that the reads themselves don't order it, that we just push the teams and our agency administrators to make the teams order it. And really, logistics and sometimes underneath logistics facilities, they're the ones, they order this kind of stuff all the time, and that's their job. So, just bug logistics to, hey, order greening here. Here's the documents. Here's how you can reach it, how you can do it. Here's all the research for you. And then if they aren't doing it, get your agency administrator and agency reps to push the IC to get his team to order it up.
Thanks, Lynn. Appreciate it. I saw that. Oh, thanks, Laura. Appreciate it. I was just about to do that.
Yep. So there's our website and also our direct email address. It's checked every day or two by a team member. So certainly the best way to get in touch with us.
Okay. And Kate, we appreciate you saying that as an advisor. I think tying it into what Lynn was saying, it's helpful if you have that information to share as a recommendation. So we will definitely work on getting you the market research results. We had almost 30 companies that responded that they could provide these green services in all of the GACs. So it's pretty exciting what the possibilities are out there. We just, on our part, we're trying to make sure we properly vet this information as needed before we push it out broadly. I see that someone has just raised their hand. Melissa.
Hi, good morning. Thank you so much for that great presentation. I am completely new to the fire world and had no idea that there was, these greening opportunities. And I appreciated that slide that showed, let's see here, it was titled Feedback from Field 2020. I mean, the fact that it was so fresh and recent, and then the comparison of before and after, how it helped, the amount of, I didn't even think about the volume of garbage that may be generated even prior to COVID, but then with COVID, that explosion of everything being prepackaged. I really appreciated that contrast, and I'm super curious to see, like, is there a percentage of, maybe this statistic is not out there yet, but of all the times that the camps are set up, what is the percentage of recycling that takes place? So is it 5%? I'm sure it's increasing, because the fact that you have 99 people working on this and that you have some kind of budget from WO. Oh, and I had a second question. Who pays for setting that up?
Okay, Melissa, thank you. So number one, thank you for your enthusiasm. We appreciate that you're giving us feedback on what parts of this presentation are meaningful to you. That's very helpful to me. We appreciate your attitude and the enthusiasm, because we need more people like you. In terms of answering your first question, that's something I've been trying to track down. It's been really difficult to get the data, macro level data of all the incidents last year at one time to be able to compare it to those that were received the incident recycling service. I will say that my hunch is that right now we saw a 50% increase in the number of orders for the incident recycling in 2020 compared to 2019. Overall, it's still relatively small. So we're trying to get the word out. Like in this case that you see on the screen, this facilities unit leader, he was from the Northern Rockies, so he didn't know about the BPA. He ended up in California where the BPA is available, didn't know he could have ordered it. And so that was something we learned this year, is that our teams go all over the place. So just because they're not based out of one of the GACs that has the BPA available doesn't mean they don't need to know about it. So we've really worked hard this year on trying to get on all of the IMT logistics breakout sessions and all the GACs, on the IMRR calls, trying to let folks know, hey, you can order instant recycling in any GAC. If you're in these GACs, do it on the BPA. If you're in the other GACs, do it on an EERA. And then next year, we've already started the process to do the market research and expand the BPA next year, because we're in the last year of the current BPA. We're going to need a new one. So next year, we intend to include those GACs in the BPA, so it'll be easier to just order straight from it. So big picture, I don't have a percentage for you on how many of those incidents had recycling, but I do hope that this year we see a huge increase in the number that order recycling, and we hope that, you know, right now we have 5 vendors on this BPA that have to be on site within 36 hours after they've been ordered, no matter what state they're based out of. So, you know, next year, again, we're expecting to get a lot more vendors on the BPA as well. So we should be able to have quite a bit of coverage. And what was your other question, Melissa?
Well, I think there was just one question, but I was referencing the slide. I really appreciate that feedback. I mean, I could see that it's critically important and helpful to have this opportunity, but then at the same time, you're in this emergency environment, and every second counts. So unless this is at the forefront of somebody's mind, I can see it being passed up because of the nature of what's going on.
Yeah, Melissa, that's a really good point. That's why we've been working on a delegation of authority template. And that's, and like Laura mentioned earlier in the slide deck too, there's a link to that example delegation of authority in the leadership intent memo that went out as well. So we're hoping that over time, sustainability will be part of that leadership intent on the fire in the delegation of authority, so that it's not just an afterthought.
And then Kelly, I just wanted to point out, I just pulled up a slide that we kind of held in reserve. We didn't present it today. But thinking about the benefits of the incident recycling BPA from various perspectives, from various roles that one might hold on an incident. And some of these are actually direct quotes. So I'll let folks review that at their leisure.
Yeah, we've gotten very positive feedback. It's exciting for us to see, because we want our program to be beneficial to the field from an operations standpoint, not just to be green. So it's great when we hear back from the buying team community that, hey, now I don't have to deal with all these separate orders for cooking oil and batteries and all this other stuff because it can be ordered on the BPA. You just cut my workload. You know, thank you. Or we hear from the base camp managers, hey, we had a really hard time getting camp crews last year. And you know, the few camp crews that we have, we need to get them on priority tasks. So when we had the recycling vendor out there, you know, they handled the trash and the recycling. So now the camp crews can focus on other things, you know, so they were able to spread those important resources out a little bit further. And you can see just, you know, some of the other folks, their perspective on how this BPA, managing trash and recycling, has been helpful to them.
Yeah. And I just wanted to look at the chat a little bit. So we got a couple of questions that came in. So first of all, a copy of the presentation. So meeting organizers received a PDF version of our presentation. Melissa, I'm curious, would you specifically like the PowerPoint as opposed to the PDF? If so, yes, we can share that.
Oh, actually, my apologies. Yes, the PDF is fine. Okay. I'm going to see if we can start distributing this to our fire folks.
Okay, excellent. Yes, and thank you very much for adding that to your library and helping to amplify those key messages that are embedded in the presentation. Another thing was looking at, are we looking beyond waste prevention and recycling? Are we venturing into any of the other issues? And, one of the reasons we wanted to share with you a few of the snapshots, the example of the Canisius Wildland Fire Module, the hose to habitat work, some of the market research into things like solar light towers, is to get at the point that the answer is yes. Yes, our team does span all environmental footprint areas, ranging from energy to water to fleet to waste prevention and recycling to sustainable acquisition to sustainability leadership. And so with that in mind, I do believe that we, via a formal partnership that our team has with the Department of Energy National Renewable Energy Lab, have great potential to especially go into that energy space. And so far, in the past couple of years, yes, we have very much focused on advancing this BPA as our keystone deliverable and making sure that it was implemented efficiently and that we gained traction for this instrument as a way of kind of building a foundation of trust for what our team can deliver. But certainly, you're right, spot on. We need to be looking across all footprint areas. Kelly, anything to add there?
Yeah, no, great job, Laura. And I did see that it looks like Brian Van Druten posted a question. How do we get QBs back into fire camp? Seems you cannot get them anymore in just cases of single-use water bottles. That's a good question, Brian. I really don't know the answer to that, but we do have a variety of food unit leaders that are tied into our GreeningFire team network at a very high level that we can certainly reach out to, and we're tied into the cash management system as well. So we can ask the question and try to get back to you or back to Lynn so that she can share with you what we find out. But that's a good question. And I see that Mike posted that he's on a Type 3 team in the Great Basin, and he can now help his team be more green at your team meeting in May. And yes, please do. Hopefully, like Laura was saying, you can take our slides and run with them. We are certainly, if we have the time and capacity, I'm happy to help give presentations at some of your team meetings if you want me to give a shortened version of this as well. I do want you to know that in those GACs, like the Great Basin, we have tried to start vetting this idea of bringing them on board in next year's BPA. So we did give a presentation on the recycling BPA to your Great Basin incident business community in the last month, roughly. So we are trying to start building support with the coordinating groups in those GACs that were not included in the initial pilot, so that hopefully they will want to be included in the next BPA. And trying to make sure we didn't miss any of the other questions in here. Did we miss anything else, Laura?
There's a couple more. There's one about food donations. How did that work? Speak a little bit more about how the food was collected. What were the restrictions? I'm sure Kelly can speak to that more, but certainly that the food collections that we referenced were done by the BPA vendor. And they were able to establish some pretty innovative partnerships with the local community. It's definitely one of the, I think, success stories that is often on the periphery, but it really hits home. So Kelly, I don't know if you want to speak a little bit more about any of the restrictions, et cetera.
Yeah, well, Laura, you hammered it. The way the BPA is set up, we tried to strike a balance between, being very clear about the minimum expectations, but also being flexible in a performance-based type contract. So we wanted the vendors to be able to flex based on local conditions in terms of, what could be diverted from the waste stream in Oregon, relative to where the fire is and where the local community is versus in California or in New Mexico, and that local situation might change. So we wrote it into the BPA in such a way that the vendors are responsible for doing that research and figuring out how to connect the dots to maximize the diversion, basically. And they do put together a report. That's something else that we didn't mention specifically, but Marissa, you might be interested in this too. On our website, that case study that we told you about on the Slater Devil Fire, we have a link to the actual full report from the incident recycling vendor on our website. on the incident recycling page, and we could share that link with you too. But you can see where they document their lessons learned on that specific incident, what challenges they encountered. They document exactly what recycle outlets they took those recyclables to, including the food donations. So we do try to make sure our program has maximum accountability and integrity in terms of really documenting every step of the way, what we're doing, what we're accomplishing. And one of the cool things is that the vendors are sharing that with logistics on the incident, so logistics can get it in the IAP, and the team can be proud of and own that diversion rate. It's not just the vendor that's making recycling successful, it's the team. So that's been something exciting to see, is that there's a message in the IAP or in the morning briefing, an update of, hey guys, so far on the Slater Devil Fire, this is what we've done as a team to reduce our impact on the community landfills. So I went around that question in a really broad way, but hopefully it was interesting.
A couple other questions that came in. I don't know what our time cap is, Melissa, Lynn, just give us the virtual hook when we need to leave. But there was a question about how significant a problem is trash and recycling on the fire line as opposed to in camp. So Kelly, I don't know if you want to speak a little bit to the backhauled recyclables and the blue bag program that we set up through our vendors, but that might partially address it.
Yeah. So, and before I launch into it, thank you all for engaging with us and asking us these questions. It's so exciting as a speaker in a virtual Teams meeting to actually get questions from the community that we're speaking to. So thank you for paying attention and asking these questions. And in terms of, we call it the Blue Bag Recycle Program. And that's one of the modifications that we're making to the BPA this year, is to refine that Blue Bag program. So the vendors are required to provide blue recycle bags with a recycle logo or recycle text on it, so it's really clear what the purpose of that blue bag is. They're required to post them at key high traffic locations in the camp. And then those crews, when they come to get their lunch, for example, those blue bags better be right there. They can grab a blue bag with the recycle logo on it, because they're going to be grabbing a trash bag anyway. They might as well grab a recycle bag. And then when they backhaul their trash, they can drop off their recyclables in the blue bag at a recycle center. So we have in the BPA, the vendors are supposed to set up a recycle center in camp on a main thoroughfare. They have to work that with logistics in terms of what makes sense, but it's supposed to be an easy to find location. The crews can just dump off their recyclables very easy. And if they want to learn more about the recycling program, they can talk to the recycling vendor while they're there as well. Does that answer your question? The blue bags?
Thanks, Kelly, for expanding on that. Wanted to let folks know I did add a PDF version of today's presentation in the chat thread. It's in between Carl and Kate's posts. So you can download that locally. And then Melissa and Lynn, as meeting organizers, also have a copy that I believe they're going to add to perhaps a shared Pinion folder, if I was tracking that correctly. There was a question about, are we tied in with the organization FUSEE? And we are not, Julie. So I don't know if you're in a position to come off mic and tell us a little bit more about that organization and what ties you might see us making with that organization. That would be really helpful.
This is Julie. I only recently found out about them and joined them. It's Firefighters United for Safety, Ethics, and Ecology. And so they appear to have a fair amount of overlap with some of the things you're trying to do, as well as your broader GreeningFire purpose. Thanks.
Great. Thanks for bringing that to our awareness, Julie.
Yeah, great, Julie. I'll have to look into that. And it is wonderful to integrate so that we can create synergy and not duplicate efforts, for sure, reach a broader audience more efficiently. I did see that Kristen Monday posted that the annual READ meeting is coming up, and it'd be good to share with the agency administrators and the local team. Great point, Kristen. Something that we've been trying to work on is getting on the IMRR call with the agency administrators as well. So we found that we can we try to reach the broadest interagency audience that we can. So it's not just Forest Service, even though we're chartered within the Forest Service Washington office. We've had great success with the IMRR meetings, reaching a really broad audience. So we're hoping that your AAs may hear about it through that. And otherwise, hopefully, you can share this information as an ambassador. And if you'd like more help or would like to become an ambassador, please reach out to that shared inbox. And I can post my direct email address too at the end of this as well. You can reach out to me directly. Okay, I see James Moog asked a question. Has there been any efforts to reach out to IMTs during the off season? Seems like an easy sell if it's recognized as a net benefit. Absolutely, James. I'm not sure what you mean by off season, but we're definitely trying to be included on the agendas for the GAC IMT meetings. So we were on the SWIC agenda. We'll be speaking to OSCC and ONCC later today. Northwest, we'll be talking to them later today. Laura is talking to the Region 5 PIO group. I've talked to Region 3, the SWIC.
Eastern area.
Team, Eastern area. We Northern Rockies, right? Rocky Mountain. So we have been on a road show trying to share this program live as much as we can, because we feel like it's great to create a human connection there. If you have other ideas or suggestions, let us know. We do have a limited team, so we do the best that we can, and we're certainly trying to get the word out.
Thanks for articulating that, Kelly. It looks like there might be an error with the PDF file that I'd shared. Not sure why, but Melissa and Lynn have the original PDF, and I trust that they can share it and post it in a place that all participating today can access it without issue. I'll try to look into what happened with the attachment via the file share as well. Okay.
Laura, I'm posting the PowerPoint too, just in case folks do want to try and use our slides on their own, but.
Perfect. We'll go with that instead. Hopefully that will go through without issue.
Yeah. Did we answer all the questions?
All that I saw in the chat. Again, we appreciate the engagement of this group. I will say that sometimes we conclude our presentations and there's just a question or two, and this group in particular, one of the reasons that we are so appreciative to Lynn and Melissa for getting us on the agenda today is over the years, this group has just been a wealth of ideas about opportunities for engagement and helping us understand what your key needs and questions are. And we just appreciate that really open conversation. So thanks again.
Yeah. Laura, if I can, before we jump off too, I just saw some messages related to BLM with Kristen, I believe, and their Mike, I think, is also tied in with BLM. But I do want you guys to know we have a BLM GreeningFire team ambassador. Her name is Sering Wangden. She's in the Northwest, and she's been very increasing her engagement with the team. And we recently gave a presentation at the NMAC meeting and the CGAC meeting as well. At those meetings, we saw some interest when we shared the leadership letter of intent that the Forest Service developed. There was definitely interest, on the National Park Service side and on the BLM side of perhaps considering a similar letter. We may see a leadership intent memo come out through the MMAC community also. So there's definitely interest that we are seeing in this program and supporting this program in the other agencies to include BLM. If you'd like us to connect you with Sering Wangden in particular, just to make that BLM connection specifically, let us know. Because it would probably be good to tie you in if you're interested. Okay, Kristen. Yeah, I'll post my email address here in the chat, and you can send me an email. So I've got your email address, and I'll connect you with Sering. Wonderful. And she does have a strong background in sustainable operations as well. So thank you. Thank you all. We greatly appreciate your engagement, your willingness to be a part of making this program possible.
Thank you so much, Laura and Kelly. This was incredibly interesting, and it almost seems like I'm super curious to hear the kind of like after action review on camps regarding this. Like, what are the in-between challenges that show up? It almost seems like if this is not brought up immediately, that it's kind of forgotten. And that's just me assuming. I have yet to take on that experience, but it's before the train leaves the depot, trying to get this set up kind of thing, it seems like. And the amount of, especially with land management agencies, trying to lead the way in terms of sharing with the public, this is how we do it, this is how we care for the land, and that includes the recycling piece. You know, I could see this at the forefront of so many things. So very inspiring and encouraging that it's growing.
Yeah, thanks, Melissa. One of the things just to address that, you know, jumping on the recycling right off the bat so it's not forgotten, we've had several logistics chiefs put it on their pre-order so that they can get recycling, you know, as quick as possible. And there's different, you all probably know, different dynamics with pre-orders, because if you end up at a school or a casino or the middle of nowhere, what you need on the pre-order is going to be different. So it's hard to create a pre-order that works in all situations. But that is one way that we're trying to make sure recycling is right there when we're in the portable toilets and the hand wash stations and the dumpsters. It's just part of that base camp setup process.
Well, it's at the forefront of my mind. So thank you so much for being here today, and thank you everyone for your questions. And you're welcome to email me if there's any questions. Otherwise, we'll catch you next month then.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.